Hi, everybody in kindergarten and then first through fourth grade. This week in computer class, we are going to start a unit or a section of classes where we talk about computer programming. And there's a specific reason why we're doing that this time of year. And computer programming, in what we talk about today, I have a short presentation that I want to talk through for a couple minutes that I usually do every year. And then we have a couple of websites that we're going to take a look at to work on computer programming. Now, this is a little bit of a complicated topic, a really advanced topic, and it's essentially the way that computers and other electronics are programmed by someone to be able to work, to be able to do all of the things that they do. Now, computer programmers or computer scientists are able to create directions for machines and electronics. And we can see a picture here of somebody working, right? Programming a computer or a program to make it do specific things. And that those specific things could be almost anything you can imagine, from something like a stoplight changing from red to green to yellow, something like an ATM machine that people are able to go and do banking and withdraw their cash from, something like a video game or a website that you go to. Any of those things plus more, and we're going to talk about some in a few minutes, have to be programmed, right? Code has to be written by people who have studied that, computer programmers, for those things to work and follow the directions and do everything that they need to do. Now, this can make them do all types of things like play games, run programs, go to websites, play videos, show images, or show text. And those are just a few of the things. They can do many, many more. If you look around you right now, I bet you have a computer or device that you're using. I bet you can see a clock somewhere. I bet you can see another electronic somewhere, like a TV, or even sometimes smart devices in refrigerators, toaster ovens, lights, thermostats. Almost anything like that has to be programmed by someone who's a computer scientist, who knows about computer programming and knows how to write code. 100 years ago, there wasn't anything that used computer programming, right? If we went back in history 100 years ago, there was nothing that used computer programming at all. And now today, it's everywhere around us in common things that almost everyone uses every day. And if you just look in the room that you're in, or you take a look outside as you go for a drive, or in a store that you visit, you can probably find 5, 10, 15, maybe even 100 things that are programmed by a computer scientist and have a program written for them to make them follow directions, follow instructions to do what they are supposed to do. Computer programmers have to know languages that computers use to get their programs, code, or directions. Some of those languages are Java, Flash, Python, Swift, C++, block coding, and many, many more. There's tons and tons of them. Now, computers are not as smart as even young children. They need directions for every step of every task they may have to do. Computer scientists, either a single person or teams of them, sometimes have to write hundreds, thousands, or millions of lines of code for a single program or game. And sometimes it's a single person that does that. Sometimes it's teams of people over many, many years that write the programs and code for every step they have to do. And when we have had in the past in person classes, if you're in second, third, or fourth grade, you may remember this, but I usually do an example where I have someone come up and pretend that they're a child that's 3 or 4 years old. And to do a simple task like picking up a piece of trash and throwing it into the trash can, almost anybody who's even 2 years old, 3 years old, 4 years old could do with very little instructions, right? Simple instructions. Pick up that trash and throw it in the trash can. For a computer or a robot or a program, every little step and every little detail has to be written out, they have to have very specific directions for every little step to be able to perform every task that they do. And that's why sometimes some programs, even simple ones, turn into many, many lines of code. If we think about video games for a second, because every video game you have ever seen, ever played, ever know someone else to play, has code written that makes them work. If we think back in time, way back to when I was a really, really young kid, the original Pac-Man came out. And that Pac-Man game, which you have probably seen before, the very first one, was written in 36 lines of code, right? So that was very, very simple and a little bit old-fashioned. Today, we have games like Minecraft, where the complete Minecraft today, I looked up online, said has 4.8 billion lines of code written for it. Right? So, over what's not really that long of a time, things have changed to be way, way more complicated, way more advanced, and have many, many more pieces of code or things that are written for them to be able to work and do what they do. Writing code for something complicated takes many years of school and practice. However, younger kids, kids as old as 3, 4, 5 years old, can start learning the basics of coding and block coding earlier than ever before. This would be an example of how code is written that commonly runs things in our world. In electronics, if you think of a watch, if you think of a printer, if you think of a DVD player or a smart device, right? That's how lines of code are written for those different electronics. This over here on the right is block coding, is a way that has simplified coding that kids can learn much more easily to give them a little bit of experience in how coding works, how computer programming works. And learning to code is an important part of our world now and for the future. To help younger kids to start learning earlier, our country, the United States, has named December Computer Science Month and encourages everyone in school to complete an hour of code event each year. Now, when they say hour of code, they're hoping that everybody will do an hour of learning coding at what's appropriate for your grade level. If you're in kindergarten, that's one type. If you're in fourth grade, that's another. Eighth grade is another. But it's not that we only are allowed to do an hour. If we do an hour and then go on and do more and do days and do more and more, that's perfectly fine. It's just a name that they gave it, the hour of code, because they're hoping for everyone to at least be able to do an hour. And today, there are hundreds of websites, apps, educational toys, and STEM programs to participate in that hour of code and practice coding anytime on just about any type of device. If we went back to when, say, your parents were kids and you asked them, when they were your age, there was probably zero, nothing that gave them practice with learning about computer programming coding. And now today, on just about any device you go on, and just about every store that you could go in and buy a toy or an electronic, there's something out there, whether it be a website, a toy, a specific app, that gives you a little bit of experience or a little bit of practice in learning how to code. All right, so that's just a little bit of background about what computer programming is and what coding is. Now, for kindergarten, first grade, and second grade, we are going to try out one specific website first that gives a little bit of practice in that hour of code. And you can see a little picture of it right here, and it's called Codable. It makes it very, very basic, where the goal in this website that we're going to see in a second is learning to give step-by-step directions for a computer or a program to do what you want it to do and solve puzzles and have a little fun on the way. So first we need to get to this website Codable. And you could do that a couple different ways. Here's one. In a browser, if you or someone helping you just types in Codable, right, you can see that the website comes up or results come up, and we want this one, Codable.com. And this is what it would look like. If you are more used to going through Portal, right? Because some kids in the school, that's the way that they're used to getting to a lot of sites that we use for computer class. I'm on the Weymouth Township Schools homepage. I go down to the left where there's Portal, give it a click, and right in this computers and technology section, there is Codable right here, right? It's in the series of letter K in alphabetical order. It has a happy face by it, and I'm going to click it and bring us to the same site, Codable, right here. Now, what we want to do is we want to sign in, but they're very simple sign-ins where everybody should have no problem doing this. And we want to choose this where it says school profile, something that you're using for school that I have set up for you. If a mom or a dad or someone set one up, that is possible. That would be a home profile. You can have your own individual accounts, but we're going to use a school account. So we want to click right here where it says school profile. Now we have to enter a class code. And if you didn't see this already, go back to that Google Doc for today and you will see next to kindergarten, next to first grade, and next to second grade, different class codes. I'm going to use the kindergarten one for example, but the first and second grade one, they're only one character different that you would type on the keyboard. For all of them, we're going to start off typing in Weymouth, Weymouth, and then for the last letter or number for kindergarten, I'm just going to type a letter K. No spaces. If you were in first grade, you would type a 1. If you were in second grade, you'd type a 2. But Weymouth and then K. And I'm going to use kindergarten for the example and click next. And you will get to this page, which has all of the names of the people in the class listed. Plus, I have a sample one set up that I'm going to use so that I can show you guys how it works. And I'm just going to do a couple of these after I click play by that name that I wanted. And you click play by your name. And it's starting us off at the very beginning of this website. Now, while it's loading, and it does take a minute, I'll say, let me turn my sound down here, that we're going to use this website this week, do a little practice, and next week do a little practice. Next week's video, I'm wondering if I really need to make a video, but if I do, it's going to be a very short one, just basically to say that we're going to do a second class where we go back and continuing practice, and it will save your progress. So if you get to say level 4 today, level 5 today, you can continue right from there next week. Now, I'm going to go through this. I'm going to be a little bit quick. You actually don't need to watch this if you know how to get started or if you see how to get started and want to do it on your own. But if you get stuck at all, if anything gets a little tricky or confusing, you can come back to this page and you can watch, or back to this video rather, and you can watch my example while I go through the different levels. So, the first things it wants us to do is just a little animation where it has a triangle here, and it wants us to put it in this triangle shape in the tree. So I'm going to go ahead and give it a click, move it into the tree, click again to let it go, and it opens up that door for us. Now, this page right here is where we can do a couple of different things. We're not going to see them all today. We're going to look at the most basic one, and then maybe next week we'll look at some of the different things you can do on here. But for today, to get started at the very beginning, we just want to click on this green button that says play. It loads. It gives us a little animation and a little video to go along with it. I'm going to kind of skip through to go a little faster. And we get to the first level. Now, here's the goal, and it's showing us a little animation of what to do. You don't even need to really do any reading on this website. We have our fuzzy guy right here. And you can change him later on. You can customize him. And that fuzzy guy, he wants to get to the end and collect as many stars as he can. We want to give him directions to tell him exactly what he wants to do to get to the end. So let's think about it. The first thing we want to do is have him go right, because we need to give him step-by-step directions. We are like a computer programmer, and he is like a program or a robot that's going to do exactly what we say. So right now I think, which direction do I need him to go? And I need him to go right, this way, from here to here. So that is this arrow pointing to the right. I'm going to click and drag it into the first square.
Now which way should he go?
After that, we imagine that he'll be here, and he needs to go down. So I'm going to click and drag the down arrow.
Correct.
And then he
now
needs
which
one
way
more.
Should he go?
Think to yourself which one it should be, and I'm going to say it in a second. He needs to get from right here, the last place he would stop, all the way over to the right. So I need one more right arrow. So
You
my
can test
code
your
or
code
my
first.
program
Tap
would
the
be
test it button.
right, down, right. And when I'm ready, I go ahead and click the test it
When you
button,
think you have the correct code,
and that'll
tap
show
the
me
play
the
button.
path, and then click play. And if I did it all exactly correct, you'll get to the end. I get 3 stars. I did it on my first try, and it's on to level 2. Now, like with most things, video games and websites, it starts off very simply, where the first ones are really easy, and then it gets a little bit more complicated as it goes. All right, so the second one, this still isn't too bad. But in this one, we want to look at all the directions we need, and let's say them out loud first. I want to go right one time, then I'm going to need to go up, and it's good if I can kind of like imagine a picture of my mind where he's going to be after each step. So after right one time, he'll be here. After up one time, he'll be here. Another right, he'll be here. Another up, he'll be here. And another right will get him to the end. So I want to go right, up, right, up, right. And I can click my test it. That'll show me exactly where he's going to go. And then when I'm sure it's right, click play.
Let's go.
And he gets to the very end. Now, I'm only going to show one more level, and then you might have been doing this along with me, or you might go do it on your own now. But in this level, I'm going to show what will happen if we make some mistakes. So, let's say I want to first go right, and I want this right arrow, but I accidentally go, oops, I just put an up arrow there instead by accident. Well, I can do a couple of things. I could either take that up arrow, and I could move it to another one if I know there's another one that's going to need an up arrow, right? So I can move them around in these blocks right here where the directions go. Or if I just say, you know what, I don't want to use that because I have other steps at first to put in and they're not up, I could just click it and drag down to this trash can and get rid of it completely. So let's say I want to go right, down, right. And now let's see what happens if I didn't catch my mistake, because that first time I caught my mistake, I realized what I did wrong. Well, if I didn't catch my mistake and I said right, down, right, oh, here I want to go down. Now that's a mistake. I don't actually want to go down. I would actually want to go up, but let's see what would happen. I'll put in the rest of the directions, right, down, right. And now let's see if I press test it. Oh, it's showing a red mark here where it got stuck. Watch it again. It's showing that right here, after that step to go right, which is this one, there was something wrong and it didn't continue to the end. If I click my play button,
Let's go.
that's where he's going to stop right there because something's wrong. And I could take a look and see, oh, this is highlighted red. That's red, so that's where I need to look and see what I need to fix. There's a word for that in programming called debugging. So right here, I'm going to debug, and I might have to do ones after that. I have to look and see. But I want to say, oh, wait a minute, this shouldn't have been down. This should have been up. So let me take that down and put it in the trash can, switch it to an up, and
Woohoo! Let's go.
now he's going to get to the end because I fixed my problem and I fixed it. So that's your job and what I want you guys to do for today. See if you can do a couple of levels and see how far you get. Maybe you get through all 5 of the first levels. Maybe you're not able to, but you can do a little more next week. Maybe you were able to get to levels that were even a little further in the next section. And if you were able to and you figured it out, that is wonderful. That is awesome. And I hope you enjoy this. I hope you have fun doing it and like it. And next week, to give you a little preview, we're going to look at Codable again. We're going to do it for a second time next week. And then the week after, we're going to switch to another website to practice a little bit of computer programming or the very beginnings of learning how to code. All right, guys, have a great day, a great week, and I'll see you next time.